Welcome to the morning after week 8 of 2015, CFFl edition. Here to talk about the week that was. We're getting close to the trade deadline. I believe it is in 2 weeks on Wednesday. So 2 more weeks to make a deal if you're going to make a deal. With all the injuries, I don't know if there's a whole lot of depth to trade. But just a reminder, if you are interested in a trade, probably want to start thinking about and making a couple offers soon. Also, I don't know if I mentioned this lately, a reminder to people, since there is a lot of injuries and then bye weeks are still kind of wrapping up. If you do have a bye week player in or someone on injury reserve starting, just kind of keep making sure people pay attention. We do have a fine system, so if you do have someone in there, it's a $5 fine that'll go to the winner. We've only had to do it once, I believe. Luckily, the person who did get fined won money, so we just took it off there and gave it to the winner. So just a reminder, and we've only had to do it once. Just a reminder, though. Don't want to do it, so hopefully everyone remembers. Get to the action that was. First of all, we had a big week from Team Price is Right as they had 94 points, led by Drew Brees' 40 points, and we'll have a little more about that a little later on, as he takes down the Garbage Men 94 to 70.5. Odell Beckham also had 25.5 points with another outstanding week for him. It's kind of his first of the year, but very explosive player, so not too surprised. The Kongs took down the Bruisers to stay in the playoff race as they moved to 4-4. 62 to 44 in the game. Brandon Cooks exploded for 16 points, his first really good game of the year. High draft pick by Chad, but he's paying off now for the Kongs. DeAndre Hopkins, who has been the top receiver in fantasy football this year, had 10.5 points. Another great week for him. Badgers took down the Gargoyles 59 to 48. The Gargoyles in a tough spot now as they fall to 3-5. Badgers were led by Carson Palmer's 24 points, as he's just been a fantastic quarterback this year. Gargoyles, after 103 points last week, no players reached double figures for them this week, as they now are behind the 8 ball, trying to get to the playoffs. Cardinals keep their hot streak alive as they move to 7-1, as they took down the Bucks 93.5 to 62.5. Tom Brady had 24 points, continuing his MVP season. Le'Veon Bell for the Bucks only had 2.5 points, and the worst news for him is that he is out for the year. It's going to be rough for the Bucks now to try to get back in this, as they are 2-6, but they are the second highest scoring team in the league. Kind of crazy, but never know. Crazier things have happened. Probably at least 6 wins to get in, maybe 7 for sure. The Horn Dogs keep their 3-game winning streak going as they took down the Dingoes 61 to 52.5. Sharkhandrick West, the Sharknado, had 11.5 points, and Todd Gurley, looking like probably the number 1 pick next year, had 14 points for the Dingoes as they fall to 4-4. Finally this week, sad story of the Little Big Men continues as they fall to 2-6. They lose 76 to 28. Phillip Rivers had 19 for the Bone Storm. Prior to this, when I was working on the show last night, Chad had 14 points at the time. No players were above 6 points at the time. Luck ended up having a decent day, but he was just horrible in the first half. Chad, you were very close to setting the record. I believe the record is 15 points on a week. It's either 14 or 15. Actually, I think it was in a playoff game, too, which is all the sadder. Or actually, the guy had a bye week, I think, and then the week after he had like 20. So he had 2 terrible weeks in a row. But yeah, that was rough, Chad. That was rough. Not since the flex. That's up there as being rough. But luck came through at least for you in the end. Maybe going to hedge my bet on that. Maybe a bit hesitant on saying you're the leader for the consolation prize. As I said before, we'll talk a little bit about Drew Brees. And again, 7 touchdowns, NFL record tying 7 touchdowns, 500 yards, 40 points in the week for Drew Brees. An amazing week. One of the best weeks in fantasy history. We'll also take a look now at a new segment I'm going to debut since the Griff's Gripes have not been happening lately. Griff's been pretty busy, so I will unveil a new segment, which I think will be quite entertaining, and that is a look back in CFFl history. This is a look back at 2013 Week 15, and a week after scoring a fantasy high 41 points at the time, 44 points if we use today's scoring with the bonuses, with 100 yards and 200 yards. Clinton Portis scored 18 points as the Maulers fell to the Cardinals in the wild card round of the playoffs, 75 to 64. My team that year was led by the awesome duo of Troy Hambrick and Michael Pittman. Hambrick had 189 yards on the day, which infuriated the Maulers because it's Troy Hambrick. Probably was a career game. My receiving core was quite awesome that year, as I had a young Steve Smith, Terrell Owens, Marvin Harrison, Santana Moss, and Chad Johnson. Unfortunately, at the time, I could only start 3 of them. So it was always the decision of who to play and who not to. I believe Santana Moss was still not really that great at the time, so he didn't play that much. It was kind of the other 4, but yeah, Steve Smith then and now, although he probably won't be on my team much longer, unfortunately, he's done for the year too. And leading into that, we will take a look at the Walk of Shame this week, and this one goes to all the injuries this year. Arian Foster, Le'Veon Bell, Des Bryant, Tony Romo, not Tony Room, Big Ben, Matt Forte, LaShawn McCoy, Steve Smith, Andrew Luck, Carlos Hyde, Reggie Bush, Jamal Charles have all missed time, and I may have forgotten someone else too in there who's also missed some time, but it is just a ludicrous amount of injuries this year. That's going to hurt the trade market in my opinion, because there is nothing out there for most teams to trade. I was looking at possibly moving one of my receivers, but Steve Smith's injury is going to make that short because I'm going to have to start Diggs most weeks, and Devontae Adams maybe. We'll see if he ever actually produces. But anyway, the top free agent pickup this week is Kendall Gaskins. Probably never heard of him. I've never heard of him. He had an awesome 6 carries for like 7 yards this week. But it looks like he's probably going to be the number 1 running back in San Francisco due to Carlos Hyde probably not playing this week. Reggie Bush out for the year. Mike Davis out for the year. They have nothing. They have literally nothing there. But if he gets 10, 15 carries, it's still probably the top pickup because it's pretty well picked over at this point. And finally now, top game next week. Bone Storm versus the Bruisers, 5-3 versus 5-3. The number 2 and 3 seeds at the moment. So that should be a good matchup. Also follow me on Twitter, as you can see there. As I keep writing my articles for the Runner Sports, which has relaunched after some issues. So thanks everybody for tuning in. Good luck this week, except for Team Price is Right. You can't have 2 good weeks in a row. I think your receiver scored now 2 weeks in a row, Tim. I can't keep up. Anyway, thanks for tuning in. I will check you out probably in 2 weeks, maybe next week. I don't know, but I will let you know if there is a show. Thank you very much. Bye.